Part 60. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 596. Say leave. When some girls wake up tomorrow, they will definitely ask, can Yates not tell me? Han Qian thought it was impossible for her to keep it a secret. When in trouble, Yan Qingqing frowned. Miss Ye seems to be a little too lenient, right? He's not married to me, so where can I go? Yates turned sideways to make way and smiled. No matter, of course no matter. Mr. Han, remember to delete the photos I sent you. It's so embarrassing. In the end, Han Qian and Yan Qingqing were unable to leave. Yan Qingqing asked Yates what photos he had sent, but Yates lowered his head and remained silent. Yan Qingqing's bad temper refused to give up until the question was asked, so she grabbed Yates' arm and he was dragged upstairs to be tortured and served. As a result, Han Qian was left alone in the kitchen cooking dinner. In the early morning, everyone left the hotel, and Su Hongchang was left alone at the door waving goodbye. The matter at Yezhi Pavilion was finally over for the time being. Han Qian took Wu Qingxi and Cai Qinghu to the Yamanmen. The Yamanmen had their plans, and Wu Qingxi also had her own plans. She wanted to prepare for filming the Mid-Autumn Festival party, and the rest of them went about their own business. Many people know what happened inside the Mid-Autumn Festival gala, including Lin Zongheng and Wu Qingxi. She also knows that she has also met Feng Lun, experienced the life and death moments that night, and witnessed the real murder scene. But she didn't know what happened between Han Qian and the two people who were unconscious and the other dead. She wanted to know what Feng Lun's purpose was. To film this scene, Binhai Yamanmani's consent was required, and then they could discuss the details. Han Qian was sitting in the passenger seat, looking at the girl playing on her mobile phone in the back seat, and said softly, "Aren't you afraid that it won't be released after filming? Or maybe Feng Lun will cause trouble for you. This case involves the interests of many capitalists. I don't recommend that you film this scene." Wu Qingxi looked at the nails done this morning and said calmly, "It won't be long until we catch Feng Lun. I'm going to play the heroic role you played that night. I'm just kindly reminding you that you can go up and talk to them later. Aren't you going up?" "Not going." The plan couldn't keep up with the change. When the car arrived at the Yamen gate, it happened to arrive in tandem with Cheng Jin's car. Cheng Jin stood at the foot of the steps waiting for a few people. Then he found that Han Qian didn't get out of the car. He frowned and walked forward, knocking on the car window. Han Qian lowered the window and whispered, "I don't want to go up there." "Then don't go up. If you come down and have a cigarette, I won't go there." Cheng Jin was surprisingly talkative today. Han Qian got out of the car hesitantly. Cheng Jin handed Han Qian a cigarette and whispered, "Your aunt went out and brought it back to me as a gift. Try it." Cheng Jin is different from Niu Qiudong. His life is not as pitiful as Niu Qiudong. A pack of cigarettes he usually smokes costs more than 20 yuan, and the car he drives when going out is an Audi. Compared to Niu Qiudong, Cheng Jin is already a wealthy person. Han Qian asked softly while sitting on the steps with a cigarette in his mouth, "Can you not go up? They won't look for you." Cheng Jin frowned. "I'm too lazy to go. They want Wu Qingxi to film more scenes that have a good image for them and show off their ugly faces. If we have this time, it's better to do some human things. Yesterday Niu Qiudong told you about the party. Just treat it like a fart, as if you are sick, knowing that something will happen if you go to the party." Lao Cheng was also a sweet-tempered person. He was scolding Niu Qiudong while sitting on the steps. People passing by could only pretend they didn't hear him and trotted past with their heads down. Chang Da whispered to Cheng Jin to pay attention to his words. Cheng Jin frowned and said angrily, "Are you paying attention? Did I say something wrong? Did Yates talk about something about the elementary school yesterday? Do you think they have done anything today?" I'm too lazy to talk about them. I won't say anything about it. I'll see when they go. Help Tong Yao open the school. One more thing, Xiao Hanqian, when will you hand over to me the gangster provided by Feng Lun? Hanqian flicked the cigarette butt away. Chang De frowned and sighed, stepped forward to pick up the cigarette butt on the ground and kicked it into his pocket. Hanqian smiled awkwardly. I'm used to it, I'm used to it. I don't know about the gangster. I haven't had any contact with Feng Lun since I broke off the phone card last time. I don't know the details. When Feng Lun handed this person over to me, what conditions should be proposed and whether I can agree is a question. Cheng Jin crushed the cigarette butt and frowned. What conditions? He has always wanted to make me like him. You also know my current identity. If I really take that step, I guess this will be messed up again, so I don't dare to contact him. Besides, the more we contact you, the more people will make a fuss about me and Feng Lun. Whether I am innocent or not, Lao Cheng, you know best. Cheng Jin sighed and nodded. I was ready to resign once I caught Feng Lun. This made me lose interest. You work hard to do good things alone, and a group of people pull your legs and say that you are destroying their interests. Pay attention to your mentality, don't you still have me? If you want to do good things, I will help you, be a dog-headed strategist, invest some funds or something. Han Qian smiled and teased Cheng Jin, who raised his head and curled his lips. If something happens to Niu Qiudong, can I end well? The topic ends here. The meeting upstairs was over, and Wu Qingxi's expression was not very good. It seemed that the negotiation did not go as smoothly as expected. Wu Qingxi said that she should go back to the hotel to sleep, drove away, and left Han Qian and Cai Qinghu at the Yamen gate. Seeing this, Cheng Jin smiled and pointed at his car. Secretary, please send your 2 children away. It seems that the request made by the people above is a bit too much. Han Qian, Xiahua, I will not get involved in this matter. You can make up your own mind. Let's go. Go to bed. Han Qian frowned and looked at Cheng Jin. Old man, please be normal. Don't worry, you won't die. Cheng Jin waved with his back to Han Qian. Han Qian and Cai Qinghu looked at each other. There seemed to be another problem. It was probably not a good-looking scene. Chang sent the 2 of them to Changxiang. Cai Qinghu let go of Han Qian's arm and kept a distance. In her words, she didn't want to cause trouble to Wen Nuan. Changxiang is not like Glory. Everyone knows that Han Qian is a Huaxini or is a big radish, but she still needs to save some face for Nuan. As he walked into the elevator, someone softly greeted him and called him uncle. Han Qian said with a smile. Don't yell, or your vice president will hear you and deal with you. Then we have to please my uncle for protection. After making a harmless joke, the elevator door opened and everyone became quiet instantly. Han Qian looked at the 2 people standing outside, then stretched out his hand and pressed the close button. The moment the elevator closed, Lin Zongheng's feet came in. Seeing this, Han Qian slammed the door button. Lin Zong looked at Han Qian and frowned. Are you naive? Han Qian curled his lips and replied. Do I want to? I'm going upstairs, and I'm not going with you. I'm just here to see you. Come and sit in my office. Luo Shen brought some fine tea. Not going. Lin Zongheng tilted his head and looked at Han Qian. When the elevator reached the warm floor, Han Qian just wanted to go out when Lin Zongheng grabbed his collar. Han Qian turned around and was about to take action. Luo Shen and Cai Qinghu stopped the 2 of them. Han Qian frowned and said. Can you please stop acting like you're sick? We have nothing to talk about. Either you kill me or I tell you to get out of Changxiang. It's as simple as that. There were only 4 people left in the elevator at this moment, Lin Zongheng said softly. We can get Lu Sheng out first. You want us both to leave enjoyment and glory, but we want each other's life. Aren't you moved? Do not move. Han Qian shook off Lin Zongheng's hand and pulled Cai Qinghu out of the elevator. When he walked out of the art room of the elevator, his butt was pinched. Han Qian turned around and frowned. Luo Shen remained calm. Ever since they met in Beijing, this woman seemed become honest. It also made Han Qian a little panicked. What on earth is this woman going to do? When he came to Wen Wen's office, he opened the door and looked at Wen Wen's panic. Han Qian smiled. He walked up to her drawer and took out a half-eaten hamburger. He stood up and threw it into the trash can. Wen Wen still wanted to struggle. After a moment, Han Qian turned around and knocked on her forehead. I told you not to eat these things, but you just disobeyed me. I saw Lin Zongheng and Luo Shen just now. Why did this woman come to the company again? Nuan held the half cup of Coke in his arms and whispered. I'm also very surprised. She took the initiative to come to me this morning to apologize. She said a lot, probably saying that Go Depeo has nothing to do with her. Now that Go Depeo has escaped, she will help catch him. I don't know what she is going to do. Well. So you know about Gao Depeo's jailbreak. Han Qian sat on the warm table. When Nuan put down the Coke cup and pushed Han Qian's waist, saying softly, go down. He said this when I had a quarrel with Lin Zongheng not long ago. You never mentioned this, and I didn't ask you. Don't sit on my table. You're annoying. Throw my burger, and you get up. Han Qian was sitting on the table motionless. When Nuan stood up and grabbed Han Qian's ears. Han Qian panicked immediately. At this time, Cai Qinghu spoke. Xiao Nuan didn't eat breakfast, right? I didn't eat either. Can I go down and buy some for you? When Nuan let go of Han Qian's ears and smiled charmingly. Qinghu, you are the best, remember to buy more. Cai Qinghu stood up and left the office. At this time, Han Qian received a call from Wu Qingxi. They put forward conditions that would not damage his image. She almost wanted to give up, but Han Qian softly told Wu Qingxi not to rush this matter, to film the current drama first, and to ask Feng Lun what he meant later, to see if this guy could accept it. During the call, the warm secretary came in and said softly, Mr. Wen, my uncle Mr. Lin is outside and wants to talk to my uncle. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 597. Lin Zongheng. Then Han Qian won't talk to you, and tells his secretary to convey that he doesn't have time to talk to him now and wait for the call. The secretary often smiled and left the office with his head lowered. This little girl was much quieter than Yang Jia. Han Qian took a glass of water and sat on the sofa. He just took out the cigarette and warmed it up. He took it from Han Qian's mouth and threw it on the table, complaining softly. Don't always smoke in my office. You know it, but those who don't know think I'm hiding here smoking. What are you going to do about hooking up with a big gun? Let him be free and unrestrained outside. Han Qian was addicted to smoking. He reached out to touch the cigarette on the coffee table. As soon as he stretched out his hand, he was slapped by Wen Nuan. Han Qian picked up the water glass and whispered. I don't want him to be cool, but I can't catch him. I guess many people know about this, so don't worry about it. Nuan sat next to Han Qian, holding Han Qian's face with his hands, his face full of seriousness. Am I not worried? My husband is being watched by an escaped prisoner. How can I not be worried? I don't know how my second uncle does things. How can such a big living person let Go Depeo escape? I heard that it was Go Depeo who kidnapped the nurse. I don't remember whether it was the nurse or the doctor. Anyway, he ran away. The water in which Go Depeo escaped was very deep. Someone must have wanted to shut me up and gave Go Depeo secretly. Canon help, don't mention this matter, Zhao Shanying has been very honest recently. Didn't you make any tricks because of you taking away her hotel? While he was talking, Han Qian secretly took out another cigarette. When Nuan let go of Han Qian's face, held his chin and sighed. There have been so many messy things recently. She asked me to go shopping. I don't have time. Besides, I don't know what she is doing. The main reason is that there is nothing to guard against and there is nothing she can do to me. Han Qian, you tonight, do you want to go home? Bring the cigarettes, bring them. In the act of coquettishness, the cigarette was confiscated. Han Qian was half lying on the sofa and smiled bitterly. Where will I live if I don't go home? Have your parents called you recently? My mother-in-law called me last night and said she didn't want to urge us to have a baby. She said a lot, but I don't remember much. My mother didn't seem to have me as a daughter. She didn't care, and I didn't care either. Know what she's up to? When Nuan Rubaraba threw the cigarette into the trash can. She was purely seeking revenge for Han Qian throwing her hamburger. Han Qian, who was addicted to smoking, held a pen in his mouth and smiled. Did you drink too much and go to Nursery Rhyme's place the day before yesterday? Why didn't she go to Yashai Pavilion to watch the fun? Nuan turned around and frowned. You miss her. Han Qian also frowned and said softly. I'm just asking. Then ask yourself. Why are you suddenly angry? Because of what? Listening to the straight man's question, when Nuan turned around, grabbed Han Qian's neck, shook it hard, and gritted his teeth. When I'm done, I will definitely treat you. There is definitely something wrong with your head, a serious illness. Stop shaking, stop shaking. When the young couple were having fun, Cai Qinghu opened the door and revealed half of his face, asking in a low voice if it was disturbing their sweetness. When Nuan let go and Han Qian stood up to find Cai Qinghu, he asked with bright eyes what food he had bought and looked at Cai Qinghu's hands. When Nuan smiled as he picked up the two big bags of snacks and instantly regarded Cai Qinghu as a biological sister. Cai Qinghu's sudden show of kindness was not unreasonable. She wanted Wen Nuan to persuade Han Qian to help Wu Qingxi talk to the Yamanman. Cai Qinghu was from the Yamanman, and she was embarrassed to ask Han Qian to go. Besides, Han Qian may not be able to listen to her. So I came to find Nuan. Nuan turned to look at Han Qian and said softly. Troublesome. Han Qian shrugged and shook his head. No trouble, just go over and have a fight. Then do me a favor. Qingxi is also very interested in Yezai Pavilion's promotion. Stop calculating the benefits all the time. Go and play with Qinghu. I will have a meeting after eating something. Qinghu, you watch. Click on Han Qian, he's been smoking too much lately, he smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. Cai Qinghu narrowed his eyes and smiled. Okay Mr. Wen, I will buy ingredients to make dinner for you tonight. Forget it, except for Han Qian and Tong Yao, I don't believe in your cooking skills. Go ahead, leave the snacks here. When Nuan drove the two people away very generously, mainly because she was really busy today, otherwise Han Qian would not even think about leaving. Entering the elevator, Han Qian suddenly pulled Cai Qinghu and rummaged through her pockets and bags for cigarettes. In Han Qian's impression, in addition to warmth, several girls around him had the habit of preparing cigarettes for him. Finally, Cai Qinghu, I found a box of thin Nanjing in my bag. He lit the cigarette regardless, squinting his eyes to enjoy the satisfaction. Cai Qinghu glared at Han Qian resentfully and whispered. Wen Nuan has already said that you won't be allowed to smoke. Besides, from now on, I will count the amount of cigarettes you smoke, and I will only prepare thin cigarettes. I know you are tired, so I prepared chewing gum for you. Han Qian took a long puff of cigarette, handed the cigarette case to Cai Qinghu, and said vaguely. I'll leave it here for you. From now on, just like you applied for, 1 cigarette every 2 hours, not counting after meals. Cai Kinghu put away his cigarette and sighed. I hope you will abide by your agreement. Can you restrain yourself from harming the girl? Can you restrain yourself from smoking? The consequences are different. Choose between hurting others or hurting yourself. You know me. Then does it count as harm if I smoke second-hand smoke? I'm sorry. Xiao Qian knows that he was wrong, please give Xiao Qian a chance. Cai Kinghu chuckled. I forgive you. When they were having fun, they reached the first floor. As soon as they stepped out of the elevator and looked at the guy outside the door, Han Qian suddenly had a headache. Is this ghost still lingering? Holding Cai Kinghu's hand and striding past Lin Zongheng, Han Qian didn't want to say a word to him now. Lin Zongheng caught up with Han Qian and was not in a hurry to speak. He walked out of Changxiang and spoke. Han Qian, there is a party in a month. I hope you can attend. I will tell you a secret you have always wanted to know. Han Qian looked at Lin Zongheng with disgust and frowned. I'm not going, and I don't have any secrets I want to know. Lin Zongheng smiled lightly. Don't you really want to know who is supporting Feng Lun? No, it has nothing to do with me. But Prosecutor Cai next to you doesn't want to know, right? You think about it yourself, maybe I will give you a surprise then. Then give me Lu Shenge's head, Lin Zongheng. It's not that I don't want to cooperate with you, but I don't see any value in you that can help me. I can't defeat myself, so why should I bring you with me? Are you a burden? Maybe I will consider it after you win the whole enjoyment. Han Qian's words were direct. He had never thought about saving face for Lin Zongheng, nor had he thought about leaving a thin line in his life. With Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenge, there was no need to leave such a thin line. Lin Zongheng was not angry and laughed softly. Han Qian, I admit that you are very powerful. In 1 year, you have transformed from a mud-legged person to a person who makes me, Lin Zongheng, even want to show your kindness. I admire you very much, but you have to understand that there is a difference between confidence and arrogance. There is a difference, it's heaven and earth. You're sure you can protect one? Are you sure you can protect countless others? Glory, Changxiang, Yezhai Pavilion, Shuncheng, and the 8th District, you can protect them all? What can you protect? Han Qian squinted at Lin Zongheng and sneered. It's not about talking. Lu Shenge's achievements are there. Don't use what your father gave you as a bargaining chip here. The 3 of us are the most popular in the city now. Show some sincerity, otherwise it will be boring. You don't know that I called Lu Shenge back when I went to the capital? Why didn't I call you? I didn't know why. Lin Zongheng's expression changed. He did know about this. Han Qian used Lu Shengguo to force Lu Shenge back to the capital. It is said that there was a big fuss in the bar, and Han Qian's name also began to spread among the small circles in the capital. It spread, and he also called Luo Fu. But he was never mentioned from beginning to end. This does not mean that he must go to the capital to show his face, but that Han Qian regards Lu Shenge as an important role and does not remember him and Lin Zongheng in his mind. A guy you consider your enemy doesn't even remember your name. This is even more humiliating than a crushing defeat. Han Qian patted Lin Zongheng's chest, turned around and left. Cai Kinghu stayed where he was and smiled at Lin Zongheng with his eyes narrowed. It has nothing to do with my husband-in-law. What does it have to do with me, a woman? Young Master Lin thinks too much. Watching Han Qian and Cai Kinghu leave in a taxi, Lin Zongheng's face was twisted in a ferocious manner, and Luo Shen, who had been sitting in the car looking at the 3 people at the door, showed contempt on his lips. Embroidered pillow. Taking out the mirror, straightening the instrument, unbuttoning 2 buttons to reveal the depths, Luo Shen took out his cell phone and called Han Qian. Sir, Do you have time to sit down together? We can do anything. My husband doesn't pick wildflowers. The call was answered by Cai King Hu. Luo Shen looked at the hung-up call and was slightly lost in thought. Finally, he unbuttoned a button and started the car. The friction between the tires and the ground produced smoke, and it sped away with the smell of burnt rubber. Luo Shen held the steering wheel with both hands and rushed on the road, murmuring in his heart. Lin Zongheng's heart is too feminine, the word emotion does not exist in his heart, and his methods are even more eunuch than those of eunuch Lu. Although Lu Shenge is not a man, his methods are ruthless and he plays tricks. Most of them were bloody things. Compared to Lin Zongheng's soft knife-killing method, Lu Shenge was considered a man compared to him. Calling Lin Zongheng a waste? Then this person must be a fool. This guy's ability to hide his clumsiness is quite admirable. No wonder Han Qian gave him the nickname Lin Da Bastard. Femininity does work against Han Qian, who is like a mad dog, but it is too boring, not exciting, and not like a man's fight. If Lu Shenge knew what Luo Shen said about him, his relationship with this woman might ease a bit. But it can't alleviate it too much. Both Luo Shen and Lu Shenge have ungrateful mouths. Luo Shen wanted to join forces with Han Qian to swallow the enjoyment, and then target the Lu group, and finally kick Han Qian out, but now Han Qian did not give her any chance. Luo Shen was a little crazy. Han Qian was not difficult to deal with, and it was difficult to deal with it. He was dealing with several women around him. They all looked so naive in front of Han Qian, and they didn't even have a fuel-efficient lamp when they picked them up individually. Especially the nursery rhyme with abnormal brain circuits. Luo Shen asked someone to test this monster. Money is useless, sex is useless, and career is useless. This monster has only one purpose. Open a school and teach students. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 598. Wandering around the city aimlessly with Cai King Hu, it was considered as playing with Cai King Hu. Han Qian was going to return to normal life tomorrow, go back to work and calm down. As for going to the Yamen gate to quarrel, Han Qian was not in a hurry. Anyway, Wu Qingxi's scene hasn't been finished yet. There is a lot of time. Moreover, the Yamenmen should be rushing to develop the back hill of Yezai Pavilion. People on both sides are busy. Another thing is that Han Qian is waiting for Feng Lun. Phone call, this guy just dropped off the hotel, doesn't he have anything to say? Feng Lun played tricks on everyone in the city, including Han Qian. Cai King Hu drove aimlessly and gradually reached Binhai Road. There were very few cars on this road and the speed was very fast. It was one of the few places in Binhai city that Cai King Hu liked. R8 roared and increased its speed to 104. Han Qian raised his head and glanced sideways at Cai King Hu and said softly, "Put your seatbelt on." Oh. The car slowed down. Cai King Hu put on his seatbelt and said softly, "Ms, do you still remember the last time we met that northeastern person? I checked later and found out that this person is quite powerful in the northeast. The elders in the family are about the same level as Uncle Wen Nuan, but they are older. This person, don't you regret it if you don't make friends? Generally, people of this background are very loyal." Han Qian tilted his head and thought for a while, frowning. Who are you talking about? Yes. You noble lady is so forgetful. Can I be my wife and I didn't mention this matter? Mainly I really can't remember it. Cai King Hu stopped the car and handed Han Qian a cigarette. Han Qian took the cigarette and said in surprise, "You don't want me to smoke?" Cai King Hu took out his lighter and said softly, "You've smoked it and we're chatting." The car moved forward slowly. Han Qian lit the cigarette and took a deep breath with his eyes closed, then turned around and said, "Zhao Hanqing, right? Is he this guy? He is almost 1.9 meters tall and strong. His girlfriend is very thin and small." Cai Qinghu stepped on the brakes and turned his head to look at Han Qian, his eyes filled with helplessness and he could not speak. "Cigarettes are your spiritual food. If you don't smoke, you can't think of them. After one puff, you can even think of someone else's girlfriend's figure. My husband, I know you. Otherwise, I would have thought you were attracted to someone else's girlfriend." Han Qian scratched his head and said awkwardly, "I was a little distracted just now." The car started on the road again. Han Qian opened the window and smoked. The ash would fall into the car, but Cai Qinghu didn't care at all. "If my husband likes it, just let him do it. How much does it cost to wash the car? It's not worth saying a word about this matter." After smoking a cigarette, Cai Qinghu spoke. "Ms. Sir, let me tell you something." Han Qian turned around and said doubtfully, "Pregnant." Then Cai Qinghu's slap fell on Han Qian's shoulder like raindrops, and Han Qian quickly admitted his mistake. Just kidding, car, madam, look at the car. Wait, how can I get pregnant if you don't sleep with me? Let you talk about the train and die together and become a couple of ghosts. Madam, I want to solemnly remind you that as an employee of the Yamanman, you must not believe in the superstitions of ghosts and gods. And then you were bitten by a dog like you. Cai Qinghu. Call me ma'am." Han Qian stopped talking. Cai Qinghu was talking about the recent events at the Yaman Gate. The Yaman Gate might be recruiting investment this time. By then, many businessmen and companies from other cities would have settled in Binhai City. By then, it is estimated that the cities it has become lively, and other real estate businessmen are also eyeing the land in Dongcheng. By then, Luotian and Lu Group may have a foothold in the city. What should be done then? Han Qian replied, "You should eat and drink, so why bother?" He was not prepared to be a bandit leader in Binhai City. Rebellion was illegal. Cai Qinghu turned to look at Han Qian and frowned. "Going to buy groceries. Walk. What about the Lu family and the Luotian family? They can make money however they like. As long as they don't provoke him, he won't care. But if they do, they can't deal with your huge industry. I can just catch you and beat you up, right? What are the rules, gentlemen? You should talk but not use your hands. Those are your rules. My rule, Han Qian, is to beat you, twice if you don't do it once, and 3 times if you don't do it twice. Anyway, you can't do anything to me in a short time. Let's beat you first. You guys are being honest. Why are Lin Zongheng, Lu Shenga, and Han Qian no longer as arrogant as before when talking to each other? Because they were afraid of being beaten. Every move Han Qian made was not what they expected. How many people with a net worth of over 100 million would get punched in the face while just chatting? Han Qian just doesn't have any property in his name, but one Cai Qinghu is enough to push Han Qian into the top 3 assets in Binhai City. Back to the city to go to the supermarket to buy groceries, Han Qian pushed the cart, and Cai Qinghu held Han Qian's arm. After all, his parents had seen him before, and they still paid attention to his words and deeds, and he was not a shameless mistress. There is a big difference between going to the supermarket with Cai Qinghu and going to the supermarket with Wen Wen. After choosing the ingredients, MSCAI will ask Han Qian how to cook them, and then consider whether it is troublesome or not, and finally decide on the quantity. But Wen Wen never seems to ask, and just goes to the car if she likes to eat. Put it inside, and then Han Kinze will put it back. Every time I go to the supermarket it's like a battlefield. Warmth typically has big eyes and a small appetite, wanting to eat everything but being unable to eat anything. Cai King Hu is just the opposite. He only buys enough for one meal. Then a more serious problem arose. Buy fish. Cai King Hu wanted to eat steamed turbot, and Han Qian agreed, but only if he didn't kill it and asked the merchant to handle it. The problem was that the merchant was a friend who was helping to look after the store today, and the young man didn't dare to kill it. After walking around for a while, I found a live turbot fish in his house. The two old men each held a small wooden hammer in their hands and stared at the turbot fish that had been placed on the ground. The fish jumped off on its own, and now they are waiting for them to give the fish a hammer. I'm willing to pay double the price for you to do it. Brother, I'm just helping to look after the store today. Customers buy it and kill it themselves. This way. This fish only costs 70 yuan. I'll give it to you, okay? No. How about you find another one? That won't work either. The mythical beast is already waiting at home. The nearest one is 3 kilometers away. Just grit your teeth, stamp your feet, and just click. How about you buy some crabs? Are you going to kill me? Brother, you're here to cause trouble, right? Why don't you kill crabs? Cai King Hu, who had bought ginger and green onions, came back at this moment. He frowned and walked up to take the hammer from Han Qian's hand and hit the turbot on the ground. Then he pointed at the clerk and said with a frown, "Pack it up." The powerful aura and Thunder's domineering fish-killing movements made Han Qian and the clerk a little confused. Han Qian bent down to pick up the turbot and handed it to the clerk. The clerk reluctantly took out the scissors and started cleaning it. He was really afraid that this tall woman would give him a hammer on the head. When the clerk was packing the fish, Han Qian wanted to run away. Cai King Hu put his arm around Han Qian's neck and frowned. "What are you afraid of? You are not afraid of killing people, but you are afraid of killing fish. It's different. There is nothing different. It is raised by others, and its value is what is put on the table. There is no such thing as being intolerable. If you don't eat it, it will be an insult to it." Listening to Cai King Hu's seemingly reasonable remarks, Han Qian chose to remain silent, left the mall and got into the car. Han Qian whispered, "You cook the fish, and I'll do the rest." Cai King Hu turned around and helped Han Qian fasten his seat belt. He held Han Qian's face in his hands and spoke as if he hated iron. "My husband, you can subdue 2 gangsters at the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala. One is dead and the other is half dead and needs to be rescued. You dare to shoot at people and dare not kill a fish." Han Qian's mouth was pinched so much that he pursed his face and muttered vaguely, "It's out of necessity. If I don't shoot, the only ones injured are the people I care about. What can I do?" Cai King Hu suddenly leaned over and pecked Han Qian's lips and said softly, "I just like your emphasis on responsibility. Are you going to protect me like a flower in the greenhouse for the rest of your life?" Han Qian tilted his head and said softly, Maybe 2 lifetimes. Hateful, tricking people into crying. Huh? 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 Madam, I have learned an idiom, pear blossoms bring rain. Then you cook fish? You look a bit like Sun Erniang. Han Qian. We drove home quickly because Nuan sent Han Qian a text message, saying that she would cook to entertain Cai King Hu. When Han Qian hurriedly opened the door, Nuan was already armed. "I don't know where this silly girl got a gas mask." Han Qian stepped forward, picked up the warmth and threw it on the sofa, frowning. "What are you doing?" "A chemistry experiment." When Nuan, who was like an alien, shook her head, stretched out her hand to grab the gas mask and wanted to take it off. Then she realized that she seemed to be stuck. She got up and turned her head to hit the wall. It happened that the scene was caught by the late Cai King Hu. Madam Cai looked at the warmth rolling against the wall with confused eyes, her eyes twitched, and she said doubtfully, "Vice President Wen, what are you?" Han Qian sat on the single sofa and said helplessly. I was so anxious that I couldn't get the gas mask off my head. I just can't figure it out. How did you put it on? After saying that, Wen Nuan became quiet, and the next second he suddenly reached out and grabbed Han Qian's neck. Duan. Oh my god. Han Qian covered his head and squatted on the ground. Wen Nuan unbuttoned the back of his head, took off his mask and let out a long sigh of relief. Ah, if you don't bump it, you will forget that there are buttons on the back, huh? King Hu, you bought a fish? Huh? Han Qian, are you successful? Han Qian raised his head and gritted his teeth. Roll. Wen Nuan frowned and stood up, stretched out and didn't take Han Qian's words to heart at all. He stepped forward and put his arms around Cai King Hu's neck. The next second, Cai King Hu raised his hands to cover his head and said in a trembling voice. Vice President Wen, I can't resist being smashed. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Shisai revealed half of his body in the bathroom and said with a smile. Try it, it's very sour and refreshing. Cai King Hu turned around and said doubtfully. Have you tried? Yu Shisai nodded. That's right. It hit me and I sat in the elevator for 5 minutes and couldn't get out. It was said that I used half of my strength. I used 12 points when I hit Han Qian. Cai King Hu was really a little scared. In fact, it is not to blame Han Qian for his changeable personality. The main reason is that warmth is one kind of personality at home, one kind of personality at work, and another kind of personality outside. Can Han Qian not be divided? Nuan glanced at Yu Shisai and whispered. Why did I hit King Hu when I had nothing to do? You don't know why I hit you. After saying this, he turned to look at Cai King Hu and said seriously. Be careful with Yan Hu, she bites her forehead. All special. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 599. At dinner, Cai King Hu volunteered to go into the kitchen to cook turbot, and then asked around. As a result, Wen Nuan pretended to be a big-tailed wolf and walked into the kitchen to guide Cai King Hu, and finally dragged Yu Shisai, who was working, over. The reputation is that you should pay attention to other people's tastes, but in fact the three girls went in with the purpose of the Three Stooges. Just because Han Qian doesn't dare to kill fish doesn't mean he can't do it. After grabbing an apple from the refrigerator to satisfy his hunger, Han Qian leaned against the kitchen door and looked at the three women busy in the kitchen. Only then did Han Qian understand what it felt like to squat here and stay warm while cooking every day. It felt so good. Yu Shisai took her mobile phone and told Cai King Hu how to make braised fish. Cai King Hu was busy preparing. When the ingredients were almost ready, Han Qian smiled. Most turbot fish are steamed. Let's not talk about whether it can be braised or not. Let me ask you three idiots, do you know what the sauce is? Can you tell the difference between soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, and salt? Cai King Hu turned his head and glared with a kitchen knife in his hand, and said angrily. You can do it, you do it. I don't, I just watch. Han Qian was completely prepared to witness the accident, but he couldn't get rid of his nagging like a monk. He chewed an apple and ordered the three girls to do this and that. The fish needs to be washed. Don't let Nuan lie to you. There is no need to marinate it. If you have a light taste, you can apply a little cooking wine to remove the fishy smell. The fish should be made with a few slits so that it can be flavored easily. In fact, you don't even need to cut the garlic for poetry. It's just the same as not cutting it anyway. How simple would it be to just throw it in? Wen Nuan, you are so smart, but I have to say one more thing, onions are onions, and onions are onions. Oh, yes, just throw them in, steam the green onions, and turbot are the ingredients, right? Secretary Cai, if you're not stupid, don't put the fish directly on the steamer. This is not a steamed bun. Oh, yes. You also know how to hold a plate. That's awesome. Hey, that's right. There's no ginger in onion, ginger, and garlic, right? You took the wrong one for warmth, and it says sugar in big words on it. Does your family put sugar in steaming? Han Qian beat the three idiots in the kitchen mercilessly. When Nuan couldn't bear it anymore, he put down the candy jar in his hand, grabbed his hair and roared. I can't stand it anymore. Cai Qinghu turned off the fire, took off his apron and walked towards Han Qian. Yu Shisai's face was full of anger. Seeing that the situation was not going well, Han Qian turned around and was about to run away, but was grabbed by Wen Nuan by the collar and dragged into the kitchen. Yu Shisai quickly closed the kitchen door with quick eyes and hands, and the next second Han Qian's wail resounded throughout the entire floor. When the kitchen door opened again, Wen Nuan's steps were light and Cai Qinghu looked satisfied. Yu Shisai couldn't help but look back, his eyes a bit unbearable. On impulse, I struck a little harshly. At the dinner table, the three women intentionally or unintentionally avoided Han Qian's eyes, and did not try to pick up the turbot. After all, the fish was made by the three women, but the presentation and appearance made it difficult for people to eat it. Han Qian was not interested in seafood, so he stretched out his chopsticks and tapped the turbot plate, frowning. Qinghu, is this the value of artificially cultured turbot fish you said? Cai Qinghu lowered his head to eat and didn't answer. Then he looked at the other two girls and they also lowered their heads to eat. Han Qian put down his chopsticks and said he was full. He got up and went upstairs. Seeing Han Qian leave, Nuan murmured in a low voice. Try Qinghu. This miser will definitely not waste ingredients. Cai Qinghu curled his lips and said. I won't taste it. I have no interest in fish. If you want to eat it, you can taste it yourself. Nuan stared at the turbot fish in trance, seeming to be debating whether to eat or not. He mustered up the courage to reach out with his chopsticks and put a piece into his mouth. He closed his eyes and nodded. Well, Han Qian has indeed processed it? Cai Qinghu was dubious. Yu Shisai also stretched out his chopsticks, and nodded after entering. Now Cai Qinghu was relieved. She had wanted to eat it for a long time, but was worried that it would taste bad. She picked up a big mouthful and put it in her mouth, and then her eyes widened. With his eyes filled with pain, he pointed at Nuan and Yu Shisai and got up and ran to the bathroom. Nuan squinted and shouted towards the bathroom. I ate garlic. Yu Shisai followed. I'm onion. You two will die badly, this fish is not cooked yet. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Yu Shisai occupied the sofa and lay on it watching the football match. Han Qian didn't know much about football. He knew Ramos, a man who killed all over the field on the court, and several semi-retired stars. The rest I have only heard the name but never seen the person. This gangster was wearing a warm nightgown at night, and he didn't know how to cover himself with a blanket. His white flesh was exposed, so he wasn't worried about being exposed. Han Qian stepped forward and raised his hand. Yu Shisai glanced at Han Qian and said softly. There's a lot of meat in the butt. Snapped. With a slap on Yu Shisai's thigh, the female gangster screamed and sat up, then rushed towards Han Qian. Han Qian pushed Yu Shisai's forehead and frowned. You have occupied this wonderful sofa all by yourself. Where should I sit? Yu Shisai pointed at the single sofa and Han Qian said angrily. I am the master of this family. Change the channel. I want to watch the NBA. You wait to see the replay. Yu Shisai lay on the sofa again, her legs naturally placed on Han Qian's lap. However, Han Qian lifted him and threw him aside. He stood up and sat on the single sofa, pointing at the TV and asked softly. Where's Messi? Yu Shisai replied softly. This is the Premier League, there is no Messi, he is in La Liga. What about Ramos? Hey, do you still know Ramos? Yushisai became interested and sat cross-legged on the sofa and looked at Han Qian teasingly. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and asked in a low voice. What is La Liga and what is the Premier League? Yushisai lost interest, picked up a bag of snacks on the table, and lay on the sofa while eating and explaining. The top football league in Spain is called La Liga. Does the Premier League still need an explanation? Guandegu's concubine went to Great Britain. When will young Master Han plan to take a concubine? Wait for me to ask Nuan Nuan. If she agrees, I will accept you tonight. Seeing that Han Qian was about to ask, Yushisai stood up and rushed towards Han Qian, grabbed Han Qian's hair and pushed him to the sofa, saying angrily. Are you a tiger? Go and ask Nuan Nuan. She will definitely hit you on the head. After hitting you, she will hit me. Are you stupid? I want to be a concubine for you. I want a child. A son is the best. Han Qian grinned and grabbed Yushisai's wrist, gritting his teeth. What? Running with the ball? My son's name is Han Baobao. Don't even think about Yushisai. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. I'm infertile. I'll save money to treat you. Yushisai was as vicious as a brothel madam squeezing a geisha. At this time, Nuan Nuan walked downstairs and looked at the two people fighting on the sofa, wondering. Treatment? For Han Qian? He really should be treated. The eldest lady didn't hear what Han Qian said. She only heard what Yushisai said about curing his illness. She had always wanted to cure Han Qian's problem as a straight man. Now that Yushisai mentioned it, it seemed that she had followed her thoughts and had taken a bath. Nuan Nuan sat on the single sofa wearing shorts, picked up a bag of potato chips, put her slender legs on the coffee table, took a bite of potato chips, and continued. But this disease may not be cured. Most men have this disease, and they still don't feel it themselves. They insist on telling their girlfriends, but let's just say it. People still think they are not sick, but they are weird. You are too pretentious. Hearing what Wen Nuan said, Yushisai was a little confused. Then he let go of Han Qian's hair with a look of disgust on his face, wiped his hands with a tissue, as if they were contaminated with bacteria, and hurriedly hid on the sofa opposite Wen. Maybe someone else. I'm still a little skeptical about Yushisai, but Nuan Nuan said that it might be the truth. It happened that Cai Qinghu also walked out of the bathroom on the first floor at this time, wearing the same suspender shorts as Wen Nuan. It seemed that the girl had no intention of going back before coming. She stood behind Wen and stretched out her hand to take out a potato chip from Wen's snack bag, laughing. Road. I talked to Han Qian about this today. I took him to see a doctor. This disease can be big or small. People who care about it will find it unacceptable. People who don't care will have no impact at all. It affects normal life, right Han Qian? Han Qian's face turned dark at this moment. What are these two girls talking about here? What does it mean not to admit that you are sick? What's wrong with me? What does it mean to live a normal life without caring? Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Nuan Nuan and Cai Qinghu. At this time, Yushisai frowned. You, both of you don't care. You don't care about this either. Wen Nuan sighed softly. It's been 3 years. I'm used to it. Sometimes I feel uncomfortable if I don't experience it. After finishing his words, Cai Qinghu spoke. I do care about it, but my husband doesn't want to change it, so let's not change it. This time it was Yushisai's turn to be shocked, her eyes widened and she spoke. Warmth. Do you experience it? With Han Qian. Nuan Nuan was also a little confused and frowned. Besides my father, he is the only man in my address book. If I don't experience it with him, I won't experience it with anyone. The shock on Yushisai's face became even more intense, and she raised her head and looked at Cai King Hu. You don't care either? Can this matter be changed? Can Han Qian still be able to control himself freely? The two women tilted their heads in confusion at the same time, then turned to look at Han Qian and said in unison. Cannot. After hearing the answer, Yu Shisai breathed a sigh of relief, patted her chest and took a deep breath. She seemed to be relieved and unable to speak. I'm just telling you, Xianyuan, you're serious. You've already done nothing with Han Qian and you still drag me to buy that movie. It's really embarrassing. You know everything. I'm really confused about how warm this is, and he frowned. What's the deal with Han Qian and me? What do I know? Han Qian also spoke at this time. No, you two should tell me clearly first, what's wrong with me? Nuan frowned. Shut up, I'm asking about poetry. I am the master of this family. Then shut up. When Nuan seemed to be a little anxious, but Yu Shisai became shy and lowered his head and whispered. It's, Han Qian said he was infertile. Cai King Hu slapped his forehead, looked at Han Qian warmly, and said coldly. Have you tried? Han Qian was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat and didn't dare to say a word. Wen Nuan was a bit scary. Wen Nuan turned to look at Yu Shisai and frowned. How did you two come to this topic? Yu Shisai stood up, stopped his waist and said loudly. Han Qian said it himself. He said his son's name was Han Baobao, and then he said he was infertile. Then I grabbed his hair. Please tell me, Mr. Wen. Nuan nodded, stood up and said coldly. Husband, it's time to rest. This sentence always feels like Dallin, it's time to take medicine. As soon as he walked into the room, Nuan's slap fell on Han Qian's shoulder. He had received almost 40 or 50 slaps that day, and Nuan complained softly. Don't you think it's not enough to dislike the women around you? Isn't it right? You don't have a clear mouth, and you just talk nonsense all day long. As he spoke, he slapped Han Qian on the shoulder. Han Qian climbed onto the warm bed and got into the quilt, whispering. I didn't say anything. She just said she wanted to have a son. I just said that I was infertile. Should I sleep here at night? Who will sleep in my room? When the words fell, Wen Nuan was already on the bed. She sat on the quilt in a woman's unique sitting posture and looked at Han Qian angrily. She seemed to be a little annoyed. She stretched out her hand and slapped Han Qian on the leg, complaining. Ci is a non-marriage person. Maybe she has a good impression of you, but it's just a good impression. I'm warning you, don't make her want to get married. She will really like you by then. You let us. How do they get along? Cai King Hu and Yan Qingqing are enough to give me a headache. Do you hear me talking to you? I heard it. Can you sleep? I'm sleepy. You go back to your room and sleep. Forget it, you'd better sleep here. Don't touch me at night. Nuan got into bed. Han Qian took a pillow and placed it between the two of them, saying seriously. There's a boundary. Nuan was so angry that he grabbed the pillow and threw it to the floor, saying viciously. Then why don't you go to sleep on the ground? Han Qian stood up and shouted. You think I don't dare? Okay, go to sleep, shout whatever you want. The warmth and maturity of this meeting made Han Qian a little uncomfortable. One update today, I will make up for it tomorrow, okay? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 600. Han Qian worked for 3 days in a row, never being late or leaving early. He has been diligently handling some chores in the general department, most of which were documents and copywriting that his colleagues were anxious to ask for. Han Qian is not picky about food, and silently sitting little secretary working. If one day is fine, today is already the 4th day. What happened to Han Daxian Er? Qianwan and Suliang gathered together holding coffee and pointed at Han Qian. Qianwan whispered. Brother Liang, brother Qian, is this a trick? Why have you suddenly become so honest? Suliang sipped her coffee and smiled. You mean a few girls around him got into a fight, kicked him out, and then the girls played together? This is indeed possible, but the probability is too low. There are only a few days every month he's not normal. Qianwan put down the cup and walked forward, stretched out her hand to touch Han Qian's forehead, and said softly. It's not hot. Brother, what's wrong with you? Tell me if you have something to do. Don't keep it in your heart. After finishing her words, Yao Shui turned to the opposite side, stretched out her hand, knocked on Han Qian's table, and said softly. Yes, if you have something to say, just say it. If you can't help me much, it's okay to come up with bad ideas. We're a little uncomfortable with you being so quiet. Han Qian frowned and looked at the members of the general department, and found that they were all staring at him. Han Qian frowned and whispered. I'm fine. I just haven't been able to work normally for a long time. I miss you a little. Besides, I'm also a member of the general department. Yao Shui shrugged, prepared the documents in his hand, and said. As long as it's okay, you don't have to worry about so many things at a young age. You have to be energetic, otherwise there will be no atmosphere at work. Qianwan echoed in a low voice. Yes, yes, yes. Han Qian was very grateful for everyone's concern. He grinned, lowered his head and continued working. He really didn't encounter any trouble. He just wanted to devote himself to his work. He clearly felt that he had been busy recently. I'm a little decadent, and my play is a little out of the ordinary. No knowledge or knowledge can be learned while sleeping. I said I had something on my mind, but that's a bit serious. I don't know how Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing came to an agreement and insisted on enrolling Han Qian in a class. These two people didn't just talk about it. Wen Nuan found Han Qian a class. For the etiquette class, Yan Qingqing found an English tutor for Han Qian. And the two of them said that no one can spoil Han Qian in this matter, he must learn. There was no place to go, so I had to hide in the general department. At noon, Han Qian stretched himself. Liang bring me a meal when you come back. Suliang said helplessly. Sister Yang said she is not allowed to eat in the office. Shanshan was scolded for eating snail noodles a few days ago. Then let me buy some bread. I really don't want to go downstairs. You can always bring a bottle of Coke. This works. Suliang didn't ask anything. He knew that Han Qian would tell him if there were any problems. He went downstairs to find his wife to have dinner with him. Qianwan asked Shanshan if she was going. Fang Shanshan whispered that she wanted to lose weight recently. As soon as the word weight loss came out, several girls in the general department stopped eating lunch, and Qianwan sighed helplessly. Then let me go down and buy bread. Brother, what kind of food do you want? Forget it. You can even eat 3 buns without sugar. You are not picky about food. You only have taboos. When Qianwan walked out of the general department, Yang Lan came back from a meeting. They had known each other for more than a year, and Han Qian had never seen Yang Lan wear similar clothes. Today's lace and black floral chiffon shirt, lower body dressed up in a pair of cropped pencil pants with small high heels. Han Qian turned around in his chair and crossed his legs, holding his chin with one hand and looking up and down, and said seriously. Tisk, 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 Sister Yang, if you say you are 18, some people will believe you. How many clothes do you have? Yang Lan glared at Han Qian and said softly. There must be dozens of sets of clothes. I bought them all before and never wore them. Why didn't you go downstairs to have lunch? Dozens of sets? More than that. Han Qian was still struggling with Yang Ian's clothes. Yang Lan helplessly glared at Han Qian, stepped forward and flicked Han Qian's forehead, then turned and walked into the office. At this time, Yao Shui whispered. Qian Sister Yang wears dozens of sets of clothes every season. Sister Yang doesn't have any hobbies. She doesn't play cards, is not lewd, and doesn't play games. According to Xiao Yang Jia, half of Sister Yang's money is spent on clothes a year. While talking, the door of Yang Ian's office opened, and Yang Lan walked out and said softly. Don't listen to Yang Jia's nonsense. My money is also used for insurance. Like you play games with Wan and top up your money. Be careful to tell your husband before you talk too much. Yao Shui stuck out her tongue and pretended to be stupid with a naive smile. Han Qian was a little surprised and looked at Yao Shui with his head tilted, wondering. Sister Shui also plays games to top up money. Yao Shui slapped the table and said proudly. No, my sister is dating online. They are all innocent young men. My sister can also help them with their summer homework. Han Qian suddenly didn't know how to answer the question, and Yang Lan frowned. Okay, stop showing off. Is this an honorable thing? After saying this, Yang Lan placed the thermos bucket on Han Qian's table. Han Qian was not polite, opened the thermos bucket, raised his head and smiled. Sister, did you wrap it for me? Yang Lan narrowed his eyes and smiled. I have to eat with clients at noon, and the rest will be wasted. It's stuffed with mutton. I don't know if you can eat it. I have to eat even the atomic bomb wrapped in it. Bad boy, if you feel unhappy, just tell me. Don't keep it to yourself. I still have something to do, so you can go to self-study. Yang Lan really regarded the general department as a classroom. Shan Shan shouted hello, teacher. Yang Lan left the office with a smile. As soon as Yang Lan left, several girls came over and said they wanted to try Sister Yang's craftsmanship. You and I, the two of them, divided the dumplings, and when they saw that there was only one left inside, Han Qian comforted himself softly. Fortunately, there is another one, which is still edible. Brother, I didn't buy bread. I think instant noodles are also good, huh? Han Qian looked at Qianwan, and the girl walked past Han Qian like a gust of wind, picked up the last dumpling from the thermos bucket and put it into her mouth, mumbling. Isn't this Sister Yang's thermos bucket? Wow! Sister Yang is so partial. I said I didn't want to try it this morning. It turns out it's for you. It tastes good and is better than my aunt's. Brother, do you want to eat it? The dumplings you make will definitely be something you will never forget, with apple fillings. Han Qian's eyes were full of resistance. He had indeed heard of apple-filled dumplings, but he would never be able to eat them. He is an antique, and what he thinks is fruit and rice is rice. Han Qian had just made a bowl of noodles, and Shan Shan came over to sit next to Han Qian and whispered. Brother Qian, what's the flavor of your instant noodles? Yao Shui said immediately after the words fell. Garlic sausage. I quite like this. New staff members Chen Jing and Dian Hang also came over. The four girls stared at the lunch on Han Qian's table. A piece of garlic sausage, 3 eggs, a bowl of instant noodles, a bag of fish cakes and a bag of chicken feet with pickled peppers. Chen Jing is a carefree girl. The tall man of 1.75 meters is not very good at dressing up, and her personality is more like the tomboy reached out to pick up the eggs on the table, but was slapped by Han Qian and was not angry. Han Qian whispered in confusion. Don't you want to lose weight? After saying this, Shan Shan stood up, pinched her waist and said softly. Brother Qian, look, I'm not fat. A rival held his chin in thought and said seriously. Actually, I wasn't really hungry just now, but Sister Yang's dumplings opened the door to my appetite. Brother Qian, don't be so stingy. I didn't eat much. I took away the chicken feet and eggs. Huh? You still have something to grab. Brother Qian fish cakes and eggs, 2 are enough for me. Xiaojing you can't learn from them. Han Qian, sister, just have a piece of intestine. Take it away. Finally, Han Qian looked at Shan Shan, and Shan Shan looked at the instant noodles. He gave in, stood up, picked up the eggs and said angrily. You sit here. You eat. Shan Shan thought about it and sat down politely, then said. Brother Qian what's wrong with eating dry noodles? Just keep the last egg. I'm going to Wan Wan's place to get some. After saying this, Qian Wan opened the egg and stuffed it into his mouth, saying vaguely. I just bought an egg, but Yang Jie robbed the sausage when I went upstairs. Hearing this, Wan Wan looked at Han Qian again. Han Qian sighed feebly, put the eggs on the table, and sighed. You guys. It's just you. Several girls said in unison. Cute, right? Hateful appearance. Han Qian walked out of the general department and went out to look for food. He really didn't want to go out. Yan Qingqing and Ji Jing were very busy in the past few days. Aunt Ji's squeezed work left her no time to play with Han Qian. Yan Qingqing was busy in meetings. Cai Qinghu is accompanying Wu Qingxi, and Nuan and Yu Shisai will not come to the company. So, the general department can hide. With no choice but to go downstairs, Han Qian tiptoed downstairs, for fear of being caught by Yan Qingqing as a coolie. Then Han Qian went to the public relations department. When he reached the door, he remembered that Wan Fang was no longer here a long time ago. Han Qian suddenly felt a little lost. At this time, Gao Xing and Sun Ya walked out of the general department side by side, and bumped into Han Qian. Sun Ya called out to Mr. Han in a sweet voice, and Han Qian shrugged. Gao Xing smiled. Why are you here suddenly? During the meeting this morning, Mr. Yan even praised you for being honest recently. Han Qian sighed again. She caught me in class. Where are you two going? To get a marriage certificate. Sun Ya raised her head and looked at Gao Xing who smiled and cursed. You don't want to pick up the pot. I'm going to have a meal with Luo Shanda and Miss Wu. Are you going to go? No, that old bastard Luo Shanda is avoiding me. He looks at me like a god of plague. By the way, what has Lu Guangming been up to lately? I'm having a baby. I suddenly want a son. Her daughter doesn't have any objections to this matter, but I guess it's hard. I haven't heard of any of his women being pregnant in recent years. When we had dinner together a few days ago, Miss Wu he even joked about offering a reward, as there must be someone with a lot of money, so if you don't go, I'll leave. I'll go downstairs with you, and you give me the cigarette. I've been under strict control recently. Gao Xingchen threw half a pack of cigarettes to Han Qian. He just lit up his cigarette when he came downstairs. Before he could take a puff, Han Qian threw away the cigarette and ran away. What the hell? Why did the nursery rhyme come about? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 601. Run? Why did you run when you saw me running? Han Qian was blocked at the elevator door by the nursery rhyme, and Han Qian was banged against the wall with his hands raised. To be honest, Han Qian didn't know why he ran away. He just had a hunch that something bad would happen to him when he saw Tong Yao. Han Qian frowned and whispered. I didn't run, I just suddenly thought. Nursery rhyme said angrily. What are you thinking? You see me running away now? Why didn't you see me running away when you were drugged? Ding. The elevator door opened, and Yan Qingqing led a group of people out of the elevator. She was not surprised by the arrival of nursery rhyme, and spoke very calmly. Teacher Tong, Han Qian leaves it to you. Nursery rhyme gestured okay. No problem. Yan Qingqing nodded and left, and Han Qian whispered curiously. I'll leave it to you. Nursery rhyme narrowed her eyes and smiled. Classmate Han, go take a class with the teacher and teach you English. Teacher is a nursery rhyme. Han Qian suddenly felt like he was going to explode. Are you here to study? Of course, this was just Han Qian's idea. In Yan Qingqing's office, Lady Yasha had already prepared English books and put them on the table. Tong Yao took the book and asked Han Qian if he knew the 26 English letters. Han Qian furious. I got into college, I just didn't get good grades. I still know simple words. Then, what should I say that I am a pig? The nursery rhyme is a fart, brother. Be more serious. Tong Yao, who was wearing a floral skirt, sat opposite Han Qian. Han Qian looked Tong Yao up and down and whispered. Look at all the teachers who wear white shirts, black skirts, stockings and high heels. You look like the little girl next door. You don't feel it? After hearing this, Tong Jiao sneered, got up and walked to Yan Qingqing's office. Not long after, Tong Jiao actually dressed up as Han Qian said, but she didn't seem to adapt to it. She walked awkwardly, always unnaturally. He looked down at the stockings on his legs. Han Qian smiled. He and Tong Yao had the most honest relationship. In the past, Tong Yao dressed very conservatively, and her skirts were all above the knees, and there were no such tight clothes. I have to say that teacher Tong is very talented. The shape of the legs is also very perfect. Han Qian stuck out his tongue and licked the tip of his tongue, smiling evilly. Teacher Tong. It would be even better if you wear glasses. Tong Yao looked at Han Qian coldly and said sarcastically. Satisfy your inner perverted desires? Han Qian, you can watch it if you want. There are no outsiders here. I won't stop you, but today you have to learn a few words of English for communication. Oh, you have to bear the consequences. Han Qian leaned back on the sofa, crossed his legs and took out a cigarette. Tong Yao stepped forward and grabbed it with a frown, saying coldly. They told me that the frequency of your smoking is 1 every 2 hours. When you study, it can be reduced to 1 hour. You have already smoked downstairs. This is what Han Qian expected, he said softly. You are responsible for the consequences? Are you trying to scare me? Did I tell Nuanuan that the two of us slept together? Teacher. Teacher Tong, once a teacher, always a father, mom. Let's start the class. Class is boring, but when you are bored, you can read nursery rhymes. Han Qian's eyes were not reserved or shy at all, and then he asked the nursery rhyme in a strange way if he could speak Japanese. This sentence was bad, and the nursery rhyme pounced on him. Han Qian grabbed Han Qian's hair and said angrily. Son of a bitch, are you here for class or to satisfy your quirks? I was forced to come to class. I won't teach anymore. Real. Why are you so excited? No need to study anymore. Where are you looking, bastard? Breasts, the full name is breasts. What was supposed to be a scene of humbly studying and patiently teaching did not appear. Han Qian was interested in chatting with Tong Jiao, but Tong Jiao really didn't want to talk to Han Qian. The two were in a stalemate in the office for more than an hour, and finally Tong Jiao sat in front of Han Qian. On his back, Han Qian said his shoulder hurt. He didn't learn English well, but he gave this guy a massage. Tong Jiao didn't know which of his muscles was wrong, so he agreed to this guy's request to change clothes. Han Qian enjoyed Tong Jiao's massage and said softly. I'm not good at studying. This English looks like a tadpole to me. If you ask me to learn it, why don't you ask me to fight with someone? How is your school doing? Nursery rhyme whispered. I don't want to do it anymore. You put too much pressure on me. I contacted some classmates and they thought it was very good. But I really don't want to do it anymore. Han Qian, I don't have that big desire. I just want to open a small school. Just teach a few children and I'm not qualified to be a principal. Han Qian sat up and looked at nursery rhyme, who was not confident, stretched out his hand and tapped her forehead, smiling softly. Are you going to be worse than them all your life? Be a principal and put your name on it. I will invest the money and take care of the trouble. You only need to find a few teachers and you don't have to worry about it. Why don't you have any confidence? Tong Yao raised her head and said seriously. Just because you have prepared everything for me, I don't know what I should do now. Han Qian, you can't be right just because we have a relationship. In fact, we are just ordinary friends. Han Qian was not angry after hearing this. He took out a cigarette and lit it and said softly. From now on, if you meet a man, I will break his legs. When you leave Binhai City, I will capture your brother and work for me to pay him back. You scoundrel! I have no money and I have no ability. What are you? You can cook, and having an academic degree is an advantage. How about you let a few of them try to teach students? You are good at different fields. From now on, you can't say that Vice President Wen, Mr. Yan, and Prosecutor Cai will be the same when it comes to you. A nursery rhyme, right? Isn't the principal also very nice? Then why did you call me a monster? It's a nickname. But I don't love you. Han Qian was silent. He couldn't explain why he couldn't explain to this monster. He put out his cigarette butt, stood up and said softly. Go, change your clothes, and take you out to play. Nursery rhyme shook her head. I'm not going. I want to teach you here. This is what I promised Yan Qingqing. Just as Han Qian was about to speak, Nokia vibrated. He took out his mobile phone and looked at the overseas numbers. Han Qian made a silent gesture to the nursery rhyme, then walked to the window and pressed the connect button. If you have something to say, you have to fart. Did you give the hotel to Yates? Han Qian, are you a humming money-splitting boy? I am your father, can my name be Feng Qian? Okay, your dad, okay. You humming messed up all my plans. The phone call belonged to Feng Lun. He was furious there, but Han Qian was very calm. He guessed correctly that Feng Lun just wanted Han Qian to take over Yezai Pavilion, and then told the officials he had threatened. People will target Han Qian, and when the time comes Han Qian and the Yamanmen start fighting. Although Feng Lun says there is not much benefit, his plan to move Binhai City Yamanmen is successful. Pity. Han Qian pushed Yates out. Was Yates a member of Han Qian or Feng Lun? The people at the Yamanmen couldn't guess that even if they were Han Qian's people, the hotel was now in the hands of Yates. If the incident came out, Feng Lun would have owned the hotel, and it was the officials from the Yamanmen who gave the green light. In the end, he would be arrested. Who is the person? It's Yates, it's Su Hongchang. Are Han Qian and Feng Lun still at large? What is the use? Han Qian lit a cigarette again and frowned. What does your plan have to do with me? You want to be a chess player behind the scenes, and I will make chess pieces for you. Are you kidding me? Also, let me make it clear to you, the hotel was given to Yates, I didn't take over. Okay, surnamed Han, if I hadn't been in control now, I would have been the first to kill you, and I will be the first to kill you, too. Don't let me get the chance to kill you. What a coincidence, I thought so too. Nokia's voice was so loud that nursery rhymes made her frown. She had already guessed who was on the other side of the phone. At the same time, the city bureau was also monitoring the call. She heard the guy on the phone saying that he wanted to kill Han Qian. Li Jinhai's face had darkened. but Han Qian was not afraid at all and said again with a cigarette in his mouth. Aren't you going to betray two people? Tell me where they are, and I'll tell you good news. You tell me the good news first. You are going to be a star. Someone is going to make a movie about your performance at the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala. Are you surprised? Isn't it surprising? Don't vilify me. You can do whatever you want. I can even provide some motivation for my crime. That's impossible. You must be discredited. Then do you believe that I killed Wu Qingxi? Do you think I won't receive any news? Han Qian was silent. It was really difficult for Feng Lun, his grandson, to communicate. He seemed to know everything in Binhai City. Han Qian sighed and said softly. Go Da Pao is looking for you. Feng Lun smiled. Ha, I know, didn't he escape from prison? Kui Li is also looking for him. Someone hired this guy to find me through you, so as to take over your position in Binhai City. I have said everything. Do you want information about those two people? Yes. When Li Jinhai heard this, he ordered everyone to prepare for the police and not to alert the enemy. Feng Lun sighed on the phone. No rush, let me ask you first what's going on with Zhou Runkai? This man has a lot to do with Feng's Haida. Why are you so anxious to get him down? Do you want him to follow in Feng's Haida's footsteps? Zhou Runkai and Feng's Haida you are just a pawn who drinks soup. You seem to be such a fool, you still don't understand the situation in Binhai City. As soon as these words came out, Han Qian was really a little confused. He really didn't see what the situation was in Binhai City, so he asked curiously in a low voice. Tell me about it. Let's meet. Do you know where Cai Qinghu's car was parked last time? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. By the way, I'll tell you a big secret. Feng Lun hung up the phone. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He took out his mobile phone and called Cai Qinghu and asked her to see how Zhou Runkai was doing. Cai Qinghu told Han Qian that he had gone there in the morning and that this guy was very calm. I should eat and drink, but I didn't see anything strange. After hearing this, Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief. When he turned around, he found Tong Yao standing at the door, with her back pressed against the door. Her eyes seemed to tell Han Qian that she would not let go. Han Qian smiled when he saw this. See? You're still worried about me, right? After finishing his words, Han Qian walked towards Yan Qingqing's desk and glanced at the clock on the table. 1:15. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 602. People from the city bureau began to gather, waiting for the order from above to be handed down. Li Jinhai communicated with the Yamanman to discuss the authenticity of the matter, and finally decided not to tell Han Qian about the matter and to act without telling him. Because some people are worried that telling Han Qian will be exposed. All the police officers dressed in disguise and set off in plain clothes, and the cars left the city bureau compound one after another. At 2:30, Yan Qingqing hurried back, opened the office door and looked at the nursery rhyme sorting out the books, and then glanced at Han Qian who was playing computer games. She breathed a sigh of relief. Han Qian showed half of his face behind the computer and said doubtfully. Why are you back so early? When Sul Yang brought me water just now, he said that you and Yang Lan could still finish their work after being late. Yan Qingqing was indeed not done yet. She became a little uneasy after receiving the text message from Nursery Rhymes. After 2 o'clock, she couldn't sit still and left Yang Lan and Ji Jing at the scene. She drove back first. She couldn't let Han Qian meet such a dangerous person as Feng Lun. Yan Qingqing shook her head unnaturally and whispered. Come back and get a document. Han Qian, what are you going to do later? It's okay. I thought I'd play some games at your place in the afternoon and then go home. If no one comes to see me, it should be fine. Listening to Han Qian's answer, Yan Qingqing felt unsure. When she turned to look at the nursery rhymes, the child monster shook her head. Yan Qingqing understood immediately, walked behind Han Qian, stretched out her arms and put her arms around Han Qian's neck and whispered softly. Road. General Han, please accompany me to the scene. My feet are so sore that I can't even drive. Han Qian turned his head and narrowed his eyes and smiled. No. You let nursery rhyme drive you there, so as not to force me to study here, go. You two go now, don't disturb me playing games. Yan Qingqing looked at Tanjio, who stood up and said softly. I went in and changed my clothes. After saying this, Yan Qingqing noticed that the clothes on Tong Yao's body were hers, but Yan Qingqing didn't think much about it. She just thought about how she could drag Han Qian past 3 o'clock. 10 minutes later, Yan Qingqing found that the nursery rhyme had not come out yet, and she felt relieved. The nursery rhymes are delaying time. Yan Qingqing can't leave until she comes out, and Han Qian can't leave if Yan Qingqing is here. Time passed bit by bit, and Han Qian was playing the game seriously, as if he was really not ready to go out. When the time came to 3 o'clock, the nursery rhyme came out. He didn't change his clothes. He said to Yan Qingqing, let's go. The two women left the office. Han Qian took a look at the clock and chuckled softly. Silly and cute. As a result, it was 3:30, half an hour after the agreed time. Han Qian was still playing games, and he couldn't believe that he couldn't beat these ruthless computers. Holding a cigarette in his mouth, he was operating the mouse and keyboard with all his concentration, completely ignoring the vibrating cell phone beside him. On the other side, Feng Lun was lying on the beach basking in the sun. His bronze figure became a little bloated, and he put the keys to a luxury car on his stomach. After a while, 2 or 3 young women came over to strike up a conversation. Feng Lun was not taboo. But instead of going directly to have sex with someone, they continued fishing, and finally chose which young woman to spend the night with. The South China Sea is now the most suitable place for tourism. Keep an appointment? Only a fool would go back to meet for an appointment. At 4 o'clock, Li Jinhai ordered the team to close down. No place within 10 miles that could hide people was spared. Except for a few snakes that frightened the female team members into panic, there were no other slightly larger creatures. At this time, Li Jinhai also knew that they had been tricked by Feng Lun. Ordered to return to the team and return to the bureau. At 4:30, Han Qian still couldn't defeat these ruthless computers. Cheng Jin's call forced him to end the game early. Why did the old man think of me? Where is your boy? Cheng Jin's tone was not very kind, and Han Qian laughed. I'm at the company. What's wrong? If you need anything, I'll come find you. Your kid has been at the company the whole time. Didn't he go out? No, I'm playing games at the company. It's 34 to 5 degrees outside today. Whoever has nothing to do runs outside, isn't that stupid? Silly. Feng Lun asked you to meet at 3 o'clock, why didn't you go? Han Qian had already guessed that it was because of this. He stood up and walked to the sofa to lie down and said with a smile. Why should I meet him? He wants to kill me now. I can't hide before it's too late. Don't tell me that you foolishly ran over to arrest him. This grandson will not contact me in advance if he wants to see me. Then why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask me, either. I'm thinking now, if I really meet Feng Lun, will they arrest me as an accomplice? Come on, I'm afraid. After finishing speaking, Cheng Jin hung up the phone. Han Qian curled his lips and closed his eyes, lying on the sofa to rest. He fell asleep unconsciously. When he woke up, it was already dark outside. Han Qian opened his eyes. Pick up your clothes and leave the office, go downstairs and drive home. Yan Qingqing called Han Qian on the way and asked if Han Qian was home now. Han Qian whispered that he was on the way and hung up the phone after a brief chat. However, before he could put down the phone, his mother-in-law called. "Irsha? If you have nothing to do, can you go home?" "Mom, there's nothing wrong with me, I just want to keep warm." I called her. "Your dad cooked the food. It's been a long time since you guys came to our house for dinner." "Okay. Mom, I'm going over right now. Do you need to bring anything with you?" As soon as I finished speaking, my father-in-law's voice came from the phone. "Bring a bottle of good wine." The call was hung up, and Han Qian was a little confused. Where can he find good wine now? Looking at the number on the phone, Han Qian finally called Luo Shanda. The old guy surprisingly did not refuse, but instead told Han Qian something about the Yeomanman. Han Qian told him not to worry about anything and insisted that nothing would happen after he retired in a few years. My father-in-law did a lot of cooking tonight, but there are still a few people at the dinner table tonight. Li Jinhai's family. Regarding Li Jinhai's inquiry, Han Qian kept pretending to be stupid. When he finally asked about meeting Feng Lun, Han Qian opened his mouth to explain. "Second uncle, if you have the final say at the Yamen gate now, or if you can guarantee that I am innocent, then I don't mind meeting Feng Lun. The current situation is that I have met with Feng Lun. Maybe they can catch people, but they can't protect me. If you don't protect yourself, you will be punished by heaven and earth. I have to ensure my safety, and then I can protect Xianyuan. You can't say that just because the government office is arresting people, I will dedicate my life to it." "You are right." Li Jinhai sighed softly, nodded and said nothing. His mother-in-law glanced at his second brother, then at his son-in-law, narrowed his eyes and smiled. "What? If you don't want to listen to me, why don't you just give the phone card to your second uncle? Don't get involved in this matter. You don't understand the rules at the Yamen gate. Do you think that's okay?" Han Qian grinned after hearing this. "I listened to my mother." Then he took out the phone and handed it to Li Jinhai, who sighed again. "Okay, I understand what you two mean. It was indeed my mistake to let go de Peo escape. I am also at fault for this matter. Let's eat, and the family will eat today. Let's not talk about these annoying things." It was almost 11 o'clock after dinner. Wen Nuan and Han Qian stayed at home. On the bed, Wen Nuan whispered, "Why are you here today, second uncle?" Han Qian chuckled softly. "I guess he wanted to join forces with my parents to ask me for some news about Feng Lun. Unfortunately, our mother was forced to sleep on his behalf, and you are not allowed to go to the party in a month." Oh. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 603. Han Qian encountered a problem, whether to go to the party for a month or not. Then Han Qian found that he was superstitious. Could it be that it was really such a coincidence? Going to have an incident once. There were many people who persuaded him to go to the party, and there were also many who refused to let him go. There are two most representative people, Niu Qiudong and Cheng Jin. One invited him to go, and the other refused to let him go. Inviting him to the party does not necessarily mean that he has bad intentions. It may also mean that he really wants to invite you to the party to be lively and get to know a few more people. The person who doesn't let you go must have good intentions and is worried that something will happen to you. However, when preparing to go to work today, Wei Tiancheng and Lu Guangming called and invited Han Qian to go fishing. Are these two company bosses so free? Lu Guangming may really be relatively free, and his company has been handed over to his daughter and son-in-law to take care of, but how can Wei Tiancheng be so boring? She probably already hates him to the core, but she still invites him to go fishing? When Han Qian was wondering whether to go, Luo Shen suddenly called and asked Han Qian if he had time to meet. Han Qian was in a confused mood and said irritably, "I don't have time to talk to you, just go and play by yourself. Luo Shen was not angry at this impatient tone and smiled. The Lin family and his son went to the province today. They are very boring. As a temporary father-in-law, you must show some sincerity in cooperation. Please eat some noodles. I don't like pasta. An hui pan mian, 6 yuan a bowl, eat it or not. Eat. Can you stop acting like an idiot? Your delicate body can eat that thing. Wei Tiancheng asked me to go fishing. I was a little annoyed and was hesitant about whether to go, but you called me and I've decided, it's better to find him than you. I'm so stupid. I'm willing to do it. Why don't you, bastard, control me? Han Qian hung up the phone and turned towards Wei Tiancheng's fishing garden. I fished here once with Wei Tiancheng in winter. Han Qian's hands and feet were so cold during winter fishing that he didn't touch the pole. It was midsummer now, so Han Qian went anyway. The main problem is that I don't want to see Luo Shen. Driving to fishing, he looked at the dark purple Maserati parked at the door with a Beijing license plate. If nothing else happened, it must be Luo Shen. Han Qian wanted to run away, but it was too late. The car window was knocked. Luo Shen was wearing a white half-sleeved dress and a pair of flat shoes. She looked a bit like an ancient girl. Han Qian was too entangled to get out of the car. Luo Shen was not in a hurry and just stood in the car. Wait outside. After a 5-minute stalemate, Han Qian got out of the car. Luo Shen took Han Qian's arm in an intimate gesture, and Han Qian struggled slightly. To no avail. He said helplessly. Aren't you afraid that Lin Zongheng's people will see you? Luo Shen's eyes flashed with disdain, he raised his head and smiled with narrowed eyes. Are you afraid? Looking at the two-pair dimples on Luo Shen's face, Han Qian learned a new idiom. Lai Wu smiled slightly. He shrugged slightly and curled his lips. Do you think I still care about my reputation? Let's talk about it first. Your quarrel with Lin Zongheng has nothing to do with me. I didn't take the initiative to hook up with you. Okay, can I take the initiative to hook up with you? Han Qian, I just want to be an ally with you. I have understood the situation in Binhai City. There are only 2 people who dare to compete with the Lin family and his son. You and Lushenga. It's impossible to choose to cooperate with a eunuch, so whatever you think, do you think the 2 of us will just hang out here? Han Qian frowned and sighed, then strode into the fishing garden. There were many people in the fishing garden. Luo Shen didn't care about other people's eyes at all. He held Han Qian's arm tightly and talked while walking. Wei Tiancheng came to you today to invite you to the party in a month. I learned a little about the party from my future father-in-law. The land bidding in Dongcheng will be accelerated and will no longer be controlled by you. After that, the Yamen Gate we will propose some improvement plans and development projects for the mountains behind Yezai Pavilion, and you may become the first choice of the Yamen Gate. It is natural that you will be selected, which can be considered as compensation for you to get the land in Dongcheng back. Han Qian looked at a few people fishing in the distance, narrowed his eyes and said softly. This old ghost Lin Mend knows a lot. Luo Shen curled his lips and said softly. He has a good relationship with Niu Qiudong. Don't tell anyone about this. Han Qian, I want to cooperate with you to swallow up the Lin family, so I won't hide anything from you, but I don't want you to take my advantage of you. Be sincere and be the butt of laughter after dinner. Han Qian replied calmly. I'm not that bored. According to what you said, Lu Guangming also invited me here today because he wanted to ask about the Shuncheng Phase 2 building. Absolutely. Lu Guangming is close to you, and he had conflicts with Wei Tiancheng. When the 2 of them get together, they shouldn't be said to be plotting against you, but don't treat them as good people, including me. If one day I find out that you don't, if you have the ability to help me, when I kick you away, I will look for a car to crush you, so after all, I am helping you now. Han Qian was not answering, Luo Shen was not kidding, and Han Qian was not thinking about cooperating with him, at least not yet. Wei Tiancheng, who was fishing, frowned and looked at the two people walking over. His expression was so unnatural that he didn't notice the fish biting the hook. He kept staring at the two people. He was a little confused and said doubtfully, "Why did these two people get together? Looking at this action, I regret it." Lu Guangming just glanced at the two of them, then continued to stare at the float in the lake, laughing softly. "Really? Do you regret it? Are you confused now? Luo Shen and Han Qian are involved. Are you going to tell Lin Zongheng, or are you hiding it?" Zhu Beiji looks in the mirror. He is not a human being inside and out. This is true. Wei Tiancheng really didn't know what to do. He told Lin Zongheng that he had been cuckolded. Will Lin Zongheng really be grateful to him? On the contrary, Han Qian knew that Wei Tiancheng's life would be very difficult, so he helped to hide it. If Lin Zongheng knew that Wei Tiancheng was hiding something from him, the relationship between them would be completely broken. It's no longer possible to pretend not to know. What the hell is this Luo Shen doing? A few months ago, I wanted to kill Han Qian, but now he has changed his gender? Wei Tiancheng was a little confused, turned his head and said softly, "Meow meow, do you know women?" Meow meow tilted her head and thought for a moment, then smiled. "I don't even know myself." After finishing his words, Wei Tiancheng picked up the fishing rod, looked at the small fish that was no longer than his little finger, frowned, and continued. "If this kind of small fish appears here tomorrow, just throw the manager in there and use it as fish food." Meow meow nodded in agreement, and Lu Guangming on the side smiled. "It seems that all the fish in your pond grew up eating people, so you don't dare to fish anymore." After saying this, Lu Guangming put down his fishing rod and stood up, spreading his arms. "My brother, I miss you so much. Let me see if I have gained weight or lost weight." Regardless of whether Lu Guangming's enthusiasm was true or false, Han Qian felt very comfortable. He walked up to Lu Guangming and hugged him gently, smiling. "I heard that my brother has recently been working hard to cultivate the land and prepare for sprouts to sprout." Lu Guangming laughed. "I don't like children. I really didn't have this idea before. When I saw the way your father got along with you that day, I was really envious, brother. I also want to have a son by my side to play and have fun with, Luo. Miss, you have so much time to come over." Lu Guangming's skill at pretending to be stupid was not very good. Luo Shen shrugged and pointed at Han Qian. "Come here with my temporary husband to take a look. I'm worried that you two old men have bullied my temporary husband." Han Qian raised his leg and lightly kicked Luo Shen's buttocks, frowning. "Don't be ridiculous. Brother Lu and Director Wei have nothing to do to bully a child like me." Luo Shen curled his lips and patted his butt, looked at Lu Guangming with an unconvinced face, and spoke in a bad tone. "Sorry." Watching the interaction between the two people, Lu Guangming and Wei Tiancheng's hearts trembled. Who is Luo Shen? The future heir of Beijing's Luo Group, her net worth is much higher than that of the group boss in Binhai City. How did Han Daxian give her a kick like this? And Luo Shen doesn't seem to be angry yet. The most important thing is that Han Qian didn't explain the nickname of his temporary husband. Lu Guangming was surprised at most when these two people got together, but Wei Tiancheng was really uncomfortable. Wei Tiancheng put down the fishing rod in his hand and took a deep breath. He raised his head again and looked at Han Qian with a wry smile on his face and said bluntly, "If I had known that you two would come here together, I would never have asked you to come fishing, Han Qian. You are really driving me to death." Han Qian scratched his head and said awkwardly, "Director Wei is serious. Besides, you and I are like grasshoppers on the same rope now. Luo Shen knows it well, and I don't want to hide it from you." Wei Tiancheng pointed at the lake and said seriously, I jump and then act like I don't know anything. Han Qian shrugged, glanced at the lake, and smiled. Try. Forget it. It's useless even if I try. I'd better just fish in peace. Don't ask me why I called you over. My head is a little messy right now, very messy. Han Qian smiled and sat by the lake. At this time, Meow Meow brought fishing gear. Han Qian was not interested. Luo Shen took Han Qian and taught her how to fish. Tiger girls, you are hanging the fish hook on me. Do you believe that I will throw it into the water for you? I didn't do it on purpose. I suspect you want to throw me out to fish, really? How about you go home? I haven't eaten the 6 yuan and hui pan mian yet, so I won't go home. I shouldn't call Luo Fu out when I go to the capital. Is it your fault? The interaction between the two people made Wei Tiancheng completely confused. This was definitely not acting, absolutely not. When did these two people get together? What does Luo Shen think of Han Qian? Use or like? Lin Zongheng had a green prairie on his head. Wei Tiancheng was extremely conflicted in his heart. He once suspected that Han Qian had deliberately brought Luo Shen here to threaten him. Lu Guangming looked at the two of them with a smile, not feeling any burden at all. It is no secret in the city that he and Han Qian are on the same line. The stronger Han Qian is, the happier Lu Guangming will be. He doesn't mind hugging a strong thigh, and it is not a shameful thing. After waiting for more than half an hour, Luo Shen didn't catch a single fish. She became a little anxious and frowned and growled. I'll have someone send me an electric fish machine. I don't believe I can't do it. Han Qian frowned and said disdainfully. Okay, don't be embarrassed, I'll fish. Han Qian threw out the fish hook, sat up straight and said softly. Brother Lu, don't worry about the land in Dongcheng. Just go fishing with peace of mind. Lu Guangming grinned. It's more interesting to watch you two fishing, and I feel more comfortable and confident. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 604. The linkage put Wei Tiancheng in no mood at all. He just wanted to end today's matter as soon as possible, then go home, pack his bags and hide out for a few days. He really didn't want to be involved in this mess. Are Luo Shen and Han Qian okay? This is the most unexpected thing this year in Wei Tiancheng's heart. Luo Shen wanted to kill Han Qian. Han Qian closed Changxiang Mall for more than half a month because of Luo Shen's words. Now the two incompatible people are together. Is there anything more bloody than this? Have. Lin Zongheng used to like Wen Nuan, and Wen Nuan married Han Qian. Now Lin Zongheng wants to take advantage of the Luo family's influence, and Luo Shen calls Han Qian his temporary husband. Is there anything more bloody than this? Have. He also let Wei Tiancheng see that Wei Tiancheng is not ready to hang out with Han Qian yet. His thigh is still Linmend. Although Han Qian is powerful, Linmend is the biggest force in Binhai City. How can Han Qian compare with him? What now? Wei Tiancheng made an excuse and left in a hurry. Before leaving, he said that his daughter was in trouble abroad and he wanted to go and have a look. This guy left the field early. Lu Guangming curled his lips and said contemptuously. I went out to hide. I probably saw the two of you together and didn't know how to explain it to Linmend. This guy is determined to eat both sides. When he came today, he asked me if I would go to the event in a month's time. The party probably means I want to invite you over, but I told him that I won't attend the party. Lu Guangming's words were very direct. Han Qian smiled and continued fishing. Luo Shen squatted beside Han Qian, took the weeds and wove a garland and put it on his head. He took out his mobile phone and took 2 photos. He seemed to be very satisfied. stood up and leaned next to Han Qian, taking a photo cheek to cheek. Luo Shen nodded with satisfaction. She did not open her mouth to disturb the conversation between Han Qian and Lu Guangming. As long as Han Qian did not refuse her various playful moves and requests, Luo Shen was very quiet and Lu Guangming continued softly. Brother, tell me all about it. Can I get a share of the development of the back hill of Yezai Pavilion? Han Qian picked up the fishing rod and took a look, then frowned and turned to look at Luo Shen. I don't know when this girl removed the fishhook and tied a stone to it. No wonder the float always sank. Putting away the fishing rod, he spoke. Don't worry about this. I'll go to the Yamen gate to have an argument in a few days. Then I'll see what kind of plan they have for the development of the back mountain. I calculated it. From the back mountain of Yashai Pavilion, building a plank road on the entire mountain and then turning the entire mountain into a park. The development of the plank road connecting to the seaside should be the most effective and the most cost-effective. Of course, this is just my idea. Brother, if you have any ideas about the mountain behind Yashai Pavilion, you still have to go to the party. I shouldn't be able to get involved in this matter. Lu Guangming frowned and said in a deep voice. Is there a stalemate? Han Qian frowned and shook his head. He didn't know what the Yamenmen actually thought. Since the quarrel with Niu Qiudong, some things were no longer convenient for Han Qian. When he was struggling with how to explain, Luo Shen spoke. It's not all the fault of the Yamenmen. It's Han Qian's threat to the Yamenmen who is too big. He hasn't discovered it yet. At first, he and the Yamenmen were in a cooperative relationship, but since he brought down Zhou Runkai, the Yamenmen discovered that what they thought before was wrong. Han Qian is no longer cooperating with them, but threatening to use them, so the Yamenmen will no longer delegate power to Han Qian. After finishing his words, Luo Shen looked at Han Qian, who had a wrinkled face and innocent eyes, and sighed. Interim sir, can you please stop being so impulsive? Being impulsive can relieve your anger, but what you lose later cannot be measured. Another thing is, don't let Feng Lun be caught at the Yamenmen, because no one knows about Feng Lun now. No matter how much you know, if Feng Lun is not arrested for a day, your voice in the city will be more powerful. In 3 years, I can make you and Lin Zongheng's assets equal. In 5 years, I can make you the leader of Binhai City. In 10 years, I can make you the leader of Binhai City. Han Qian will also be famous in the capital. Lu Guangming narrowed his eyes. Luo Shen's words were meant for Han Qian as well as for him. However, based on Lu Guangming's understanding of Han Qian, he might not be able to agree. Han Qian did rely on women to make his fortune, but he also because these women restricted Han Qian's actions. Without these girls, he would not be just a white-collar worker. The 20% shares in Li Dahai's hands and the status that Feng Lun fought hard for were enough. When Han Qian swallows Qianling's shares, he will be on an equal footing with Lu Shenge. Will a woman help him in his fight against Lu Shenge? The answer is no, but to protect them. Therefore, Lu Guangming believed that Han Qian would not agree to Luo Shen and he would not be bound. The answer is of course right. Han Qian smiled at Luo Shen. My son has to believe in Han. You can only appear in my family's household registration book, instead of me going to your house to be your son-in-law. I've done that as a door-to-door son-in-law. Do you understand, Luo Shen? Okay, how about you just swallow up our Luo family? You and I should cooperate inside and outside. The child's surname is not only Han, but also Ri. You didn't even say a serious word. You scolded me again. Luo Shen turned around and sat on the small bench, with his back to Han Qian and his chin in anger. Han Qian stretched out his hand and tapped Luo Shen's shoulder, but was thrown away by the woman and whispered. You're angry, don't pay attention to me. Then Han Qian and Lu Guangming continued to talk, and they really ignored Luo Shen. This woman was also strange. She said she ignored Han Jian, but she really ignored him. Until noon, they didn't say a word to Han Jian, and the three of them got up and left. At that time, as soon as Han Jian got in the car, Luo Shen sat in the passenger seat of Han Jian. Han Jian frowned and smiled. "Aren't you ignoring me? What are you doing in my car? Get off." Luo Shen turned around and glared at Han Jian. "I don't. You're a straight man, you bastard." Lu Guangming invited guests to dinner at noon and took Han Jian to eat Haidai Lao. Lu Guangming's woman had already reserved a table. She was the same woman who ate at a roadside stall on a rainy night last time. Han Jian had a good impression of this woman and called her sister-in-law with a smile. And then after Luo Shen sat down, he also smiled and called sister-in-law. Luo Shen's appearance made the already senior woman a little confused. While waiting for the food to be served, she said she didn't feel well and pulled Lu Guangming to the bathroom. "Old ancestor, what's going on with our little ancestor? Why did he suddenly hook up with Lin Zongheng's woman?" Lu Guangming covered his forehead and said helplessly. "You ask me, who should I ask? We came here together when we were fishing today, hey." Seeing Lu Guangming sighing helplessly, Zhou Hui also sighed and said again. "Luoshan is Lin Men's personally acknowledged daughter-in-law. Now that Han Jian has cut it off, it will cause another big mess. Hey. I know what to do." Lu Guangming raised his head and asked. "What are you going to do?" Zhou Hui took a deep breath and sighed. "Being a younger brother and sister, what else can we do? The relationship between you and the Lin family has always been bad. Now our little ancestor is not afraid of anyone. We can't say that we abandoned Han Jian because we were afraid of Lin Zongheng, right? Hey, ancestor, I have to say one thing, even if you sell me, I have to say that Han Jian, our little ancestor, cannot be eaten by us. Wei Tiancheng is the best example. If Luo Shen dares to come out with Han Jian and Han Jian dares to bring him out, it shows that I have confidence in my heart." Lu Guangming frowned and said coldly. "Finished." Zhou Hui nodded seriously, and then Lu Guangming said again. "After dinner, you go for a physical examination. I feel like I can still do it." "Forget it. Let's go to the hospital together and I'll do a physical examination too. When I saw Han Jian, I always wanted a son by my side." Zhou Hui frowned slightly and whispered. "What should we do over there, Nier? She said that she doesn't care about me. She treats her little brother as a baby and dotes on her. I didn't give birth to a son to inherit the family property. Let me tell you, children's competition for family property is entirely a matter of my education. If the concept of a family is instilled from an early age, and his sister is closer than me, there will never be any problems in fighting for family property. The premise is that I divide everything before he gets married. If you can give me a son, the position of the wife of Shuncheng Group will be yours. Don't. If you have a child, I'll educate you. Don't fight for anything else. Go back. It won't be good for a long time. Or don't even think about it." Zhou Hui pulled Lu Guangming out of the bathroom, making old Lu reluctant to leave. Sitting next to the window, Luo Shen drank juice and looked out the window, saying calmly. "They are discussing our relationship. Han Jian, are you really not afraid that the Lin family and his son will fight against you? The news of my appearance next to you will spread in the city tomorrow, and Lin Zongheng will fight against you. Oh. You hammer, what should I do?" Luo Shen stepped on Han Jian's shoes. Han Jian lowered his head and said softly. "I guess I need to apply shoe polish again, there's no other way. I ask you. I'm not deaf, no need to repeat." Luo Shen turned his head and stared at Han Jian, saying softly. "You are really a man, and you are also quite stupid. Are you not angry that I am using you like this?" Han Jian took a sip of juice and said softly. You use me, and I will use you. I am happy to see you and Lin Zongheng quarreling. As for getting angry, if I was afraid of Lin Zongheng, I might get angry, but I am not afraid of him, so what can I be angry about? We were originally meant to kill each other's enemies. I'm just curious why you suddenly became disgusted with Lin Zongheng. Luo Shen laughed softly. Want to know? In no mood. Luo Shen was furious. You bastard, you must be straight. Han Qian didn't say anything. At this time, Lu Guangming and Zhou Hui came back. After Zhou Hui sat down, he began to discuss the issue of cosmetics with Luo Shen. The two women may have different values, but there is a difference in cosmetics, and they can both afford it. And I don't think it's expensive. The topic of women cannot be separated from cosmetics and men. Luo Shen really wanted to tell Han Qian why she disliked Lin Zongheng. The reason was when Chang Xiang received a slap in the face from Wen Nuan. At that time, Han Qian could stand in front of Wen Nuan and attack Lin Zongheng without any scruples, but he didn't dare to help her vent her anger on Nuan, and even said that she didn't take action against Han Qian. She was a little disappointed. Although she is powerful, scheming, capable, and wealthy, she is a woman and she also longs to be protected, unreasonably protected, instead of just saying after returning home, don't go and have fun in the future. My Luoshan is looking for a man, a husband, a shoulder, not an embroidered pillow that cannot be protected outside and cannot be comforted when home. The meal of Haidai Lao ended happily. After leaving, Lu Guangming said obscenely that he was going to the hospital for a physical checkup. Han Qian smiled and said that he would take him hunting in the mountains and exercise when he had the opportunity. The two hit it off immediately. After Lu Guangming left, Luo Shen touched his belly and whispered. I don't like hot pot and I never eat hot pot. I'll make an exception for you, Han Qian. Han Qian nodded and said seriously. Same, I never eat hot pot, ever. Luo Shen glared at Han Qian. You bastard, are you straight? Would you like some pan noodles? It costs 6 yuan. If you don't go, you'll be a bastard. Then I won't go. Han Qian. I invite you. You can consider adding an egg. Add 2. Let's go, let's go. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 605. Watching the purple Maserati leave, a sneer appeared at the corner of Han Qian's mouth. What a temporary worker, what a 6 yuan anhui plate, you didn't even get a humming sniff. He and Luo Shen are destined not to be friends, but this cannot be said too surely, everything is just in case. Is this woman really plotting against Lin Zongheng? Han Qian was a little confused, but he just couldn't get ahead. Then Han Qian found that he had no place to go. Go home? Go to company? Looking for warmth? Or go find Cai King Hu? Finally, Han Qian decided to go home. When he arrived at the gate of the community, he felt like a second-rate man and drove the car back to the company. He was about to arrive at the company. When he looked at the time, he thought, why are you going to get off work this time? The difficulty in choosing started again. After struggling for 10 minutes, Han Qian almost drove himself crazy. If I don't go home or go to work, can I go sit in an internet cafe for a while? By some strange coincidence, he came to the internet cafe opposite the Honor Home Mall. He, Qianwan and Suliang had a big fuss here, and then Guandegu came over and punished the boss here, but he didn't expect that the internet cafe was still open. Han Qian walked into the internet cafe, which was full of smog. There were people who cursed, smoked, and wretched men pretended to be girls to cheat on equipment. There were all kinds of people. Han Qian took out his ID card and handed it to the network administrator. He paid 10 yuan to get on the computer. After sitting down, I didn't know what to do, so I looked around. After gathering for a while, they opened the battle platform and selected Dota rooms. After queuing for a while, they still couldn't find a suitable opponent. Looking at the people next to them playing the most popular game at the moment, Han Qian also tried to play 2 games. This couldn't be done. The mechanism of denying made Han Qian frown all the time. He was used to playing Dota and was used to denying his own soldiers without giving the opponent experience and gold coins, thus slowly forming economic suppression. How can I suppress this if I can't deny it? Relying on strong kills in the lane or using heroes to drive the opponent out of the experience zone. Han Qian tried several times and found that it didn't have much effect. He also found a more interesting hero. He had a sword in his left hand and a pistol in his right hand. His skills also used his own minions. He played the offlane and went out to eat one. After waiting, take one from the second tower and grab the second level to push the opponent out of the experience zone. When we were having fun, the owner of the internet cafe came over, holding a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of drink in his hand. He walked forward, bent down, and smiled. Brother Chiener is here. He didn't say hello in advance. The hall is in a mess. Can we go to a private room instead? Han Qian raised his head and looked at the owner of the internet cafe. He really couldn't remember what this guy looked like. He looked very unfamiliar now and frowned. I'll play for a while and then leave. Don't worry about me. Go and do whatever you need to do. I don't like people standing behind me. Just as the boss was about to leave, Han Qian spoke again. You come back first, and I want to ask you something. Is there any news about demolition here? As he spoke, he took out a cigarette and handed it to the other party. The internet cafe owner took the cigarette with both hands and clamped it to his ears, bowing. Brother Chiener is interested in the Kui land. Now there are rumors that it is going to be demolished, and some people are trying their best to raise the price. After the community across the road was demolished last year, the residents who were demolished said they regretted it. Han Qian chuckled. What? You think you want less? Yes, Brother Chiener, you have also seen it. Now the annual rent of the Huanlang store in the Honor Home Furnishing Mall has reached more than 100,000 yuan. That is really making money every day. Who wouldn't be envious of me? Don't be jealous. Not long ago, someone from the city drew a line, saying that illegal construction and road occupation are not allowed, and there is no telling when this will happen. The neighbors negotiated and said that it would be 10,000 square meters. Is the developer a fool? Seeing the indignant look on the internet cafe owner's face, Han Qian put down the game in his hand and chuckled softly. Why are you still angry? The owner of the internet cafe asked the network administrator to bring a bottle of drink over, unscrewed it, took a big sip, and gasped. Brother Chiener, I understand the last time I was beaten. I still have to know how many pounds and a few pounds. This internet cafe is barely making a living and can't make any money. What if the government office is no longer demolished? You think so? Han Qian nodded, stood up, stretched, turned off the computer, yawned and said. You are quite enlightened. You can run an internet cafe with peace of mind. Don't think about demolishing it. You won't be able to demolish it. It would be good to rent out the shop and collect some rent in the future. Do something serious. My girlfriend is from the PoortoRich. She recently there's a little bit of business. After the words came out, the internet cafe owner quickly bent down and begged. Chiener, give me a way out. I don't even dare to make chicken heads now. I'll drive everyone away, I promise. If you realize your mistakes, correct them. You are a good boy. I will give you a way out. You should realize it yourself. The drink is not poisoned. The internet cafe owner frowned like a child, and Han Qian stopped teasing him. He left the internet cafe and drove home. He left. The internet cafe owner breathed a sigh of relief. Someone asked the boss about the young man's identity, and the boss took it off his ear. Smoke, and said mysteriously, "Do you believe the cigarette can make brother dog stop charging us for tea?" Dog brother? Guandego worked so hard to send his concubine to study music abroad. Han Chien left not because he had enough fun, but because Kexen called Han Chien and his car was hit by someone responsible. As the traffic police said, the person ran away after leaving the door. Han Chien couldn't help laughing after hearing this. He ran away? Don't answer the phone. What kind of person is he? I'll look for you. I'm over 70 years old. I drove a three-wheeler and my front bumper fell off. The repair shop said it was 900. I thought that the old man was getting older, so he agreed and asked for 700. This good-hearted man ran away. Okay, stop looking for it. You are a man in his 70s. You have to sue for this matter. The back and forth is very troublesome. When the time comes, they will say that they will not pay compensation, and you will not be able to do it if you are a swindler. Come on, I'll transfer some money to you and you can go fix it. After hanging up the phone, he sent a text message to Nuan, asking her to transfer 1,000 yuan to Kexen. Han Chien went back to work, but he never forgot these little brothers. When they went home in the evening, Han Chien and Wen Nuan reported on the day's itinerary, including meeting Luo Shen in Beijing and going out with Luo Shen today, and explained in detail what Luo Shen wanted to cooperate with. Han Chien didn't care whether Lin Zongheng's head was green or not. There should be no fire in his backyard. Wen Nuan was the one who despised Luo Shen the most. After listening to Han Chien's honest report, Nuan held his chin and looked at him suspiciously. Huh? Are you trying to explain to me? Something's wrong. You tried your best to hide it from me when you went out with a few other girls. Did you take the wrong medicine today? Han Chien leaned against the wall and frowned. It's a bit serious. Aren't I worried that you will say this and that about me again? The most important thing is that nothing is wrong here. Wen Nuan nodded seriously and said seriously. Admit that you had an affair with a few other girls. Sleep. Han Chien got into bed. Wen Nuan came forward and lay on Han Chien's chest, pulled Han Chien's face with his hands, and said with narrowed eyes. This woman Luo Shen is really vicious. Is money so important? Can someone betray her? You'd better be careful. I'd rather see you two team up to deal with Lin Zongheng, but have you ever thought about it? This may allow Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenga to join the team to keep warm. After hearing Wen Nuan's words, Han Chien was stunned for 2 seconds, and then shook his head. No, I really haven't thought about this. These two guys were fighting to the death in the mountains. One of them stabbed the other and almost killed someone. How can they still cooperate now? Wen Nuan pouted. Luoshan found someone to kill you, and now he can continue to cooperate with you. Do you think Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenga will care about what happens in the mountains? People like them only value profit. Maybe Lu Shenga will be a little crazy, but Lin Zongheng he was as calm as a shrinking bastard. Now the internal turmoil within Changxiang has begun. My series of decisions were released and suppressed Lin Zongheng again. If he can't achieve results, he will probably be absent from the next board meeting. I'm going to be the vice president, and I'm going to be the president. Stretching out his hand to pick up the girl in his arms and putting it aside, Han Chien turned sideways and looked into his big warm eyes, smiling. Isn't this a good thing? Nuan said in a low voice with displeasure on his face. But I don't want to. Being the president is too tiring. I have to take care of the company and customers, and I have to catch vixens all over the world. How can I have so much energy? It's better to be a vice president. I know you are going to say something about me again. I'm not motivated anymore, but I'm like this, what can I do? Aren't dead pigs afraid of boiling water? Whatever you say, My sister won't argue with you today. Let me tell you something. Lin Zongheng and his son went to the province. I guess they are going to set their target on the back mountain of Yashai Pavilion. Let them leave it to them. I hear what you want. I'm not interested. It doesn't have much to do with me. By the way, have you helped Wu Qingxi? Don't delay her. They went to the capital to treat us to food and accommodation, and you even provoked a nightclub man. There is a scandal about a friend, so I'd better do you a favor. Why are you so kind? How can I maintain my position as the Empress of the East Palace without being kind? Han Qian stopped talking. He turned over and looked at the roof. Shun the big dog. Shun the big dog. You are the one who caused this. What the hell, Lady of the East Palace, are you okay now? How do you ask my brother to answer this? Seeing that Han Qian was silent, Wen Nuan stood up, laid his upper body on Han Qian's chest, pinched Han Qian's face again, and said coquettishly, "Are you going to help or not?" Han Qian also stretched out his hand to pinch the warm face and said softly, "I want to help, but I don't know how. The people over at the Yamen gate want to discredit Feng Lun, and when I was on the phone with Feng Lun, this guy said, we can't discredit him, otherwise Kui Li will cause trouble for Wu Qingxi, this trouble either he will be kidnapped or his life will be dead. I really don't know how to help. I guess the result will be a stalemate, the filming will not be completed, and the opinions will not be unanimous. Whoever is in danger is playing with whom, just tell me about the people you come into contact with, Huan Yunbiao, Tu Xiao, Luo Shen, Lu Guangming, Wei Tiancheng, Feng Lun, how can Kui Li have anything good? Even if you don't want to help, let's go to the Yamenmen for a formality. Han Qian, I noticed, why are you so vague about interpersonal relationships? Okay, I'll go tomorrow, okay. Sister, please stop nagging and go to sleep. One mouth. Wen Nuan kissed Han Qian's lips, then turned over to sleep. Recently, she had been sleeping in Han Qian's room. She did not return to her room after her aunt left. In her words, Han Qian made no sound while sleeping. Scared to death. The girl is sleeping, but Han Qian can't sleep. Thinking back to what Luo Shen said today, could it be that the Yamenmen are really taking away the rights given to him? I really need to go to the Yamen gate.